Yeah, good captaincy, good bowling. Not a great shot. First ball out of the rough. Big spin.
So the first thing that I want to talk about, and the key thing that I actually look at with young spinners especially, is how they're actually holding the ball. Now there's a couple of ways of doing this, especially in the modern game. Split fingers, ensuring that your fingers are on the seam of the ball and your thumb is come off the ball itself. Alright, as soon as we actually put our thumb on the seam or on the ball at all, it acts as a brake, and we've got to think as a spinner we want to try and turn the ball as much as we possibly can. So always have split fingers either on the seam itself or you actually go across. Now there's two reasons for that, and I'm going to touch on that on a different video when it comes into variations, but today we're just going to be looking at a traditional grip, split fingers, split right down the seam, thumb off the ball. What I would suggest is, well, when it comes to the grip and when it comes to getting used to actually splitting those fingers, is when you've got a ball, make sure it is the correct size ball. If you're a young player trying to turn or trying to hold an adult size ball, it becomes very hard and you tend to get a kind of clawing method, just simply because you want to get as much purchase on the ball. So don't be afraid, if you're 13 years old or younger, get a kid's ball, get a youth ball, and actually get into the habit of getting your fingers on the seam, making sure that thumb's off, and just flicking it to yourself and really trying to rev that ball across. The last contact point will always want to be the index finger. So whether you're right-handed or left-handed, so a left arm orthodox, the last point of call when we're actually delivering the ball is going to be that finger. All right. There could be times where you might just want to start throwing the ball, okay? Physically getting into a position where you're just flicking the ball out of your hand and getting used to that ball coming off that index finger at the last possible time. When we get used to the grip and holding the ball and making sure that our fingers are on the seam, we want to try and make sure after we've bowled the ball that the ball is landing on the seam as much as we possibly can. That's what's going to create our turn, and that's our desired effect. And like I've already said, as a spinner, we want to continue to try and turn the ball as much as we possibly can. To do this, we have to make sure we're not undercutting the ball with our wrist and we're not going too far over the top. Those two ways of with your wrist can be quite a useful variation, but to begin with, we want to try and ensure that our wrist is at a rough 45-degree angle, and that when we release the ball, that it's going to release to the point that when it lands, it's staying and purchasing on that seam. If we can get that motion, not only will we get the ball to turn more, but we're going to get that desired arc, that flight, that up and down motion that every spinner wants. And we've got an understanding of where we want our wrist to be when we're releasing the ball, we can start to bowl. We can start to get into the motion of bowling, and I would always suggest by just walking your action through and making sure we're activating our feet and our drive. Without driving through the ball, it's going to be very hard just to turn the ball with our fingers and our wrists. We want to try and create a whole body motion, and as soon as we have that, as soon as you've got that energy going towards the ball, we're going to be getting the results we want. We want to then look at just walking into a delivery, okay, and just getting through the action whilst turning the ball as much as we possibly can. I'm a massive believer in most of the energy when it comes to the bowling action itself, when we're doing off spin, is done at the load in the release point. And that the idea of your run up, although it can be beneficial, is more about rhythm and getting you to that point.
Your run-up will play a huge factor in the pace of your delivery. By keeping it nice and straight and having your weight coming towards your target, it is going to encourage your head and your eyes staying level throughout the delivery, and you're going to stay much taller. By doing this also, your pivot point with your front leg is going to be much easier to work around and drive through the action.
Yeah, good captaincy, good bowling. Not a great shot. First ball out of the rough. Big spin.